Lafayette City Parish Council member Bruce Conque joining us to talk a little bit about, well, everything Bruce and, I don't know, a few things here and a few things there. So you were alluding to something before. So kind of pick up that train of thought, if you would, Mr. Conque.
What was the train of thought?
Well, so we were talking
actually took a
about
break there.
bicycling.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I've been a cyclist almost all my life. I'm blessed with a real strong pair of legs.
Well, that's great.
And
huh?
I can go back to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I lived on Vermilion Street just off of downtown Lafayette, and I would cycle to downtown, and I would go to Cathedral School, or even before that was Central Elementary. So I've cycled my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, as I got older, my bicycles got more expensive, and my adventures on the bike got, in terms of distance, much longer, 40 and 50-mile rides, and I enjoyed it. So I invested in the equipment that allowed me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was about 6 months ago. I had also invested in an electric bike.
Oh, okay.
Not a scooter.
Right, no, a bicycle.
An electric bike.
Yeah.
And I was commuting in between the office and my home, and I was following what I thought was proper procedures when you're in traffic.
Right.
I was approaching a left turn lane in a 2-lane road with a double yellow line in between, and did the appropriate signaling, and the person behind me decided that I was impeding traffic flow. So he proceeded to cross the double line and immediately pulled in front of me and had to hit the stop sign because there was an intersection. Right. I was right behind him, and I took a spill.
Oh, my.
And it really put the fear of cycling in me.
Really, yeah.
I don't know what was the intent of that person.
Right.
I'd like to think good things, that he just wasn't paying attention, that I can do 20 miles an hour.
Right.
That maybe he just misjudged my speed.
Yes.
But bottom line was he did cross a double line.
Yeah.
He did stop immediately in front of me, and then I had to bail. So I also made the mistake of telling my wife.
Oh,
so that was the end of that.
I was going to say, that would be the mess up
there.
there.
I still have my very expensive mic. It's a nice trophy that sits in my utility room. And I got my electric bike that my wife allows me to use in the neighborhood.
Right, one block radius, right.
But for right now, I'm not cycling.
Well, and I understand that. And you know, the thing of it is, I think we forget how, you know, cycling used to be such a bigger mode of transportation, and it's becoming much more popular again, and has over the last 5 to 6 years, certainly. Now, you know, there are people that don't care for that because they feel very frustrated, as if, you know, it's somehow some horrible, you know, thing that they have to slow down
Bicycle
and give the 3 feet. Yeah. And, you know, I understand their frustration, too. Traffic is backed up. But I wish people could pay more attention to their driving in general, whether it is a bicycle, whether it is a child walking in the street, whether it is the driver in front of them or the bicycle operator in front of them. I think we have forgotten that when we get in the car, we're supposed to just be driving.
And I can't understand. I was at an intersection yesterday. There was an ambulance coming through. Lights,
blaring,
siren,
the whole bit.
Everything. And people continued through the intersection right in front of them.
Yeah.
Or a school bus. People just continue despite the signals being obvious. You know, people complain. I get a lot of constituent calls saying speeding in our neighborhood.
Yep.
Well, I can put every type of deterrent in play, but it's driver behavior.
Yeah, and
which I can't control.
Yeah. And I find that frustrating.
And real quick on bicycle lanes, because I think that's a misunderstanding in the general public.
Yeah.
People say, oh, you redid Congress Street by the library because you wanted to put more bicycle lanes. No. What happened was the bicycle lanes actually were a byproduct. We were addressing a concern where traffic was just 50, 55 miles an hour through what is a residential area, if you really think about it. And there's a term that transportation planners use. It's called a road diet. And what you do is you take a large number of lanes and you reduce them. You do a road diet. Yeah. And in the process of Congress, we actually took 4 to 5 lanes. We brought it down to 2 with a continuous left. That we had some remaining on the outside. So we added bike lanes.
Mm-hmm.
We also added over 100 parking spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
So consequently, when you have that restriction as you travel down Congress Street, you don't want to do 50 to 55 because it feels unsafe.
That's correct.
We have cut the number of crashes in that area about
wonderful.
40%.
40%, Bruce.
And that's the critical component.
That is amazing. I had no idea that it was so
when people
high.
say, you want to put more bike lane in? No,
Yeah.
we ended up with bike lanes, but we addressed the safety issue.
Yeah, and that was obviously the issue. My goodness.
It was critical.
What a wonderful piece of information for you to talk with us about. Okay, I have to go back a little bit. 55 years?
I'm no young child here.
I know that, but you are very youthful in appearance and in attitude. To think that you have spent your life with someone for 55 years. Bruce, you have to tell us the secret. What's the secret? Everyone listening is they're wondering, what do you know that we don't know?
That question would be better posed to my wife because, I'm not an easy person to live with. I've pursued a career over the years that has been very demanding on any marriage.
Sure.
I used to have a job where I was anchoring the newscast at 6 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
I would get home at 2 o'clock in the morning because you couldn't wind down very quickly.
Yep.
My wife was at home raising our one child.
Mm-hmm.
So those were challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And to her credit, she stuck it out.
Wow.
We've got a good life right now.
Mm-hmm.
We travel quite a bit. This new gig that I got is a little bit less demanding than it was the first time around, and yet I still get to accomplish what I need to accomplish or what's expected of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, 55 years. Now, the question is, what's the difference? We've changed. We've adopted. We've adapted.
Adopted and adapted, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Adopted whatever the change may be.
And
adapted
lifestyles
to,
change.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
At one time I had a lot of hair on the top of my head, and, no gray hair on the beard, but that's a physical change, but it's also a mental change.
That's right. That's right. And people can grow together. It doesn't mean it's, necessarily the easiest thing to do.
It is
but
not.
It's work is, I think, partly what you're saying and the commitment part of it.
The commitment is definitely there. I think it's also an investment in life.
Yeah.
That at some point during that relationship, you just figure out, hey, it's easier for us to stay together. Let's make this thing work. We got a lot of time invested in this. Yeah.
And who else knows, all my idiosyncrasies. And yes, this person has to put up with me and, and truly, and it is the wonderful opportunity to grow together. So now we know. Now we know all the deep, dark secrets.
My wife is
that.
now my best friend. Okay. Pretty much the entire relationship. But I value the time that she and I set aside every morning. In fact, the people in the neighborhood set their clocks by the fact that we walk.
I love it.
3 miles every morning in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that some of the best conversations she and I have is when we're either driving and we're both looking forward, or we're walking and we're looking forward. Now, face to face, you start to go, okay, but you have some really good conversations, and it's a comfortable point in our lives that we can do that. So
I think that's wonderful, and I wish more people would do that for themselves. For themselves.
But not everyone has the opportunity that we've had.
That's true. So, you're a dad. What's that like?
My daughter was born in 65, so she is 54. Mm-hmm. She lives in Houma, and she's our only child because I quickly proved I could not be a good parent. And she lives down in Houma. She's got her own life. Aline and I have been empty nesters for a long, long time. In fact, longer than we were parents. Wow, amazing. I love how you're so candid about everything, Bruce. This was the hope of this show on Saturday mornings because, you were speaking about how you and your wife are walking every day, or the great conversations while driving. And I'm hoping people will be able to get exactly what I'm getting from this in talking to you and it's sharing actually who you are with everyone, and I appreciate you being so candid. Well, and I think prior to the conversation we had discussed what I think is my public image. That's the wealthy white guy with a PhD who lives in River Ranch. Okay? Nothing further from the truth.
So you're not wearing bow ties every day?
No.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is you didn't graduate magna cum laude from Harvard?
Not nearly.
Okay, and you didn't ever
I may have done...
teach at Princeton?
No. Where does Lady of Fatima fit into there? I graduated from high school in 64.
In 64, from Our Lady of Fatima.
From Our Lady of Fatima.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was embarking on my broadcasting career. In fact, I was already in broadcasting.
In broadcasting at that time.
At that time, all the local media was owned by local folks.
Local folks, yeah.
And I started working at, actually it was KPEL.
At the time.
When they went in Jefferson Street. I went from there to my first real job at KXKW and went from KX to KVOL.
Wow.
And that's when I got into news.
Wow.
And I've had one real mentor in life. Ron Gomez is the mentor. And then the other person who really challenged me, because he would fire me if I didn't, was Evan Hughes.
Yes.
Evan used to have Evan was from New York. I love Evan. And he said, his thing was, this is Evan Hughes with the news presented by Delta Furniture. He could never pronounce Delta. But this goes back. So that's when KVOL was the local broadcast media in terms of radio. And I went from there to Channel 3, stayed there a couple of years, and then I went on to Channel 10 where I really pursued the rest of my career.
From that point on. Did you find anything different at that time? Obviously, it was much more local owned. Like us here, we're very lucky. We may be owned by a different group of people, but they are so focused on local. They want as many of the local people here as possible. They're all about, local management. So I know it's changed from that perspective for most companies, whether it's radio or TV or print media, from this approach of everybody, either own this paper or they own this TV station. What else do you think has really changed about the industries that you can kind of see?
Well, it's really a sad commentary that on my part is that we have lost local resources for information.
Yeah.
The primary resource for information now is the internet, Facebook or whatever they use. I do use Facebook.
No, I know what you mean.
But the thing is,
not to go there for news. And if you hear
but not
something,
many people don't.
Right.
I think the frustration that I have with the media today, and I think I'm in a position where I can be critical. I spent a lot of time in it.
You did.
Is that Lafayette continues to be at the television level a training ground. From what I can appreciate is that reporters come in to get 2 years under their belt, build up a resume tape, and move on to the next market, be it New Orleans, Atlanta, or Houston. Not to be critical of these folks.
No, I understand. Sure.
And look, I think that we have right now a contingent of reporters who are interested in obtaining facts.
That's correct.
And reporting accordingly.
People are really working hard.
They are working hard, but the real frustration comes into play is that when they attain that level of skill and knowledge to really be of value to the news reporting community, they're gone.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And when you look at the media in Lafayette today, I can go through it. You have Claire Taylor, you have Amanda, you have Megan over the Advertiser. Those are the three key people. You have Angie Semino, and you have Damien over at Channel 3 and a couple others. At Channel 10, you got Dwight Dugas, long history. I'm not that familiar with the crew over at Channel 10 as I am with the others. We got you here, okay? We got Wally Pierce over at Channel 15. So I can tick off those people. But look, they used to be only 1/10 of the manpower or person power
That's right.
that we had at the
That's
time.
right.
But when I was in the media from 62 through 78, 79.
And I am hoping, I have seen some encouraging signs that the pendulum is swinging back in terms of attitude. I think people have finally come to realize people thought there was one interpretation of what you do when you're in broadcast news. I think they thought, well, we just come in here and somebody writes those stories for us, Bruce, and then we just pop on the radio and read them. People don't understand all the work that goes into it, the telephone calls, the things you're looking up, the information you're trying to reach. And so I am hopeful that the pendulum is swinging back.
And it's interesting, the pendulum was in a weird sort of way. When I was reporting, I did my own camera work. I did my own writing. I had a battery that weighed more and was larger than today's cameras, okay?
That's great.
But then that came around over the years. They would go to 2- and 3-person crews. Now they're back to 1-person crews.
Right. Isn't it? It's amazing.
It's going full circuit.
Yeah.
And I would love to be in that media today because of the technology involved.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I was in, we did 16mm film. You know where cut and paste come from?
Yes, I do. We had a reel-to-reel.
I still have mine.
Do you still have yours,
I have
too?
my splicer, yeah.
And you'd be amazed.
I still have the 2 cameras.
I still know how to do it, right? And you still have those 2 cameras?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a Bell & Howell and a,
wow.
I forget the other one. But at Bell House, we used to say that was your protection in terms of fighting a crowd because the thing weighed like 8 pounds.
Yeah,
but
this is my weapon.
Yeah, but today the whole technology is different. They're more mobile. Certainly, they can just about edit anywhere. When I was in the media and we wanted to get something on the 6 o'clock news, we didn't have 5 back then. We had to get the film in by 2 o'clock.
That's right. Yeah, a totally different world. And I think again, I'm hopeful that pendulum will swing back. And I think people need to understand that you have to continually invest. And we are lucky in this market because so many of us have decided to stay, that we have made that our choice. I am so glad. I've had people ask me all the time, and okay, well, what about this? And why didn't you go here? And I'm so glad I stayed to be able to see the development. When we were at the groundbreaking ceremony for Moncus Park, and just knowing all of the things that led up to that, all the different stories we did, all the different stories the other media did. And then, hopefully by the grace of God, I'll be here in another 20 years to see that development.
And you'll be here for the opening in September of this year.
Yeah. And so I hope people will want to invest as much in our Lafayette and our Acadiana as some of us have done.
Well, you mentioned Moncus Park. That may be one of the proudest achievements of my political career. My first time around on the council, there was an effort made to commercialize the front 6 acres of what was referred to as a horse farm then. And there was a group called Save the Horse Farm that was formed. Danica Adams and E.B. Brooks were heading that effort, and they were very successful.
Yes.
And I will tell you that as a member of the council, it was my role to consider a request to rezone the property to allow the commercialization. Because at the time, I think it was agriculture. So you just couldn't build anything.
Well, yeah,
they had to have rezoning.
Yeah.
And we were lobbied heavy.
I would imagine.
By the administration at the time at UL and by other folks in the community. And they were unable to get 5 votes. To get anything past the council, you have to have 5 votes. So because of that, it's probably the best thing I didn't do to be successful.
I love that. All right, we're going to continue talking about Bruce Conque and just having another open and candid segment on the way.